Welcome everybody to Love Speaks Love. I am your host, Denise, and my two guests today have both been on before, Alessandra Gilioli and Kevin Humphrey. So welcome, you two. Our connection, more than one connection, but the biggest connection, let's say what brought us together, we three, was dragons. So today we're going to speak about dragons. We're going to talk about the recent Water Priestess retreat that Alessandra hosted and Kevin went to. And we'll see what else comes up. And normally on Love Speaks Love, before we get fully into the chat, we do start with a little heart-to-heart connecting us with our own hearts, connecting our hearts with each other, the three of us here, but also with all of you as well, watching either live or on the replay, and with the heart of Gaia and the sun and the cosmic heart. So without further ado, we will do that. So if it feels comfortable to do so, and if you wish to do so, you might want to just close your eyes and bring your awareness to your heart space in the center of your chest. You might want to put one or both hands on your heart. And let's just breathe love into our hearts, into our bodies. And let us breathe out anything of the day so far or the day ahead, anything that may be preventing us from being in this now moment. And let us feel all of our hearts together as one in one unified field of love. And I'm seeing dots of light lighting up around the globe and connected to each other as we all feel all of our hearts together. And let us extend our heart awareness out now to the heart of Mother Earth, to the heart of Gaia. So just bringing your awareness deep into the earth, to the center of the earth, to Gaia's heart, connecting in with the New Earth templates. And as we connect our hearts to the heart of Gaia, feeling Gaia's love, her joy, her gratitude, and her appreciation of all of us for all that we are and all that we do. And let us extend our heart awareness out to the heart of the sun, feeling gratitude in our hearts for the sun, that solar being. And giving thanks for all the solar codes that are raining down on the planet. And let us extend our heart awareness out to Source Creator. The cosmic heart, feeling that universal love moving into our bodies, into every cell. And you may just feel your heart awareness and your heart, your heart energy expanding. And let us just connect with the dragon grids of energy, the dragon lines of energy here on Earth. You may also feel yourself tapping into the cosmic dragon lines and feeling our hearts connecting to that dragon heart collective field of energy. So excuse me, I'll hand over to you first, Alessandra, if there's anything that you wish to add to this.
You're mentioning the dragon lines, ley lines, the sun, and I was just receiving a vision of all sorts of dimensions and planets and their ley lines. And we are so galactic, and the dragons we work with are also galactic. So I felt a huge community with specific ley lines connecting in all these places. So it was very multiverse oriented and all different colors and just community upon community joining in.
Beautiful. Thank you. Kevin?
What came through for me is that we are galactic beings, but we're also here on Earth. And the dragons always say to me, "You humans, you complicate stuff so much." They say to me, "Breathe. Put your hand on your heart. Is it beating? Then you're good. The rest is just a noise. It's just a dream. So sometimes just be there." So yeah, they're just saying connect to both. But sometimes just take a breath and pause.
Beautiful. Okay. So if your eyes are closed, opening them whenever you're ready. So welcome. I don't know if you want to just both give a little introduction as to who you both are. Just a little one in case people haven't encountered you before. Whoever wishes to go first.
Should always be ladies first.
Okay, I'm Alessandra. I call myself the Galactic Shaman, trying to explain what it is that I do. I think there's so many healers and channelers, and we're all doing incredible things. And sometimes it feels like we're all different. And then in the end, we're doing the same stuff. So I channel with voice, high frequencies, or what feels to me like big energies. But what's exciting to me is it's always changing what I'm bringing in. And to me, it's just another part of the universe that I'm part of. So it was Lady Venus, Goddess Isis, now the White Dragon. And they're just all different flavors and different ways of reaching a high creator source energy, and it's really fun. So I do art channeling, written channeling, and then now retreats at sacred sites, but that's always been a passion of mine. And I've been so blessed to be in different parts of the world doing this shamanic work. And I feel that I think I'm helping, or myself and others, hopefully, with reaccessing power that we really have and working on our soul identity. Because I think if we have a broader expanded feeling of how sacred we are in a way and how healthily important we are, that then we can do anything we'd like to do. I think that we're here to have a really good time. And for me, a really good time means connecting with incredible beings. I mean, I was obsessed with fairies. Actually, that's an interesting thing. The most religious feeling I had consistently as a child was praying to fairies. I would find plants that looked different. They would be silvery, and I still don't know what plants they were. I'm trying to find them as an adult. Like, what was I praying to? And it's interesting because that's it. The religious sacred feeling I had was elementals and fairies. So that's it.
Thank you. Over to you, Kevin.
Hi, Kevin Humphrey. I also go by the name of the English Mystic, my business name, which I'm a healer in Reiki and Rahani and shamanic practices, and that's why I call myself Mystic, so it's easier to one term rather than spouting all those wonderful skills off. I didn't remember those skills until the last decade. Like many people, I went into the system and was part of the system for nearly 4 decades. I spent the last one unremembering all of that stuff and remembering who I truly am, which is a galactic being living this lifetime as this human. And I know that my spirit has been around forever, as is yours. And my current mission from the dragons who first came to me in 2017 while I was riding out on my horse, is to help humanity remember their connection with their dragons. You may have one and you may have millions. I've met a few people that have got millions and many people that have got 2 or 3. It doesn't really matter. There's not a competition. It's and that's what they want me to do. The dragons say, start a summit, start talk, start sharing that dragons were real, are real, and that you each have one. And they're looking for their riders, which really is a term that means friend, soul friend. So that's my mission.
Beautiful, thank you. And just to give a little bit about myself as well, because there may well be people here that don't know me. So similar, I think we all kind of work in similar, same but different kind of ways, working with energy. And the dragons came in, I can't even remember actually when they first came in, but I did write a book that is still in the process of being edited by me, about dragons starting in 2006. And I feel like they were already with me at that time. I don't feel like it was new. So they've been, in my field for a long time. And I don't really like labels, but I perhaps call myself a sound alchemist. I work with sound locally and online groups. And my next gathering is going to be a Dragon Heart gathering, and I'll share a little bit more about that towards the end. But the dragon energy for me too has been really amping up, especially this year, this Chinese year of the dragon. It's like off the charts, really, the dragon energy this year. And the encouragement from them, shall we say, is to speak about them, to work with them more, and just really honor them and just bring them into our lives more and more. So yeah, I think anyone working with dragons at the moment is kind of getting that same message. Okay, so the Water Priestess retreat. In this, you visited quite a few sacred sites around Rome, and I'm not sure where else. I'll let you share about that. It was interesting, Kevin. I read your blog on your website for that, so that gave me quite a bit of grounding, and I was connected with Alessandra while you were away, so I knew a little bit of what was happening, and I was connecting in through all the photos. Where would you say either was the strongest energy, or which place had the most impact on you, would you say? I'll hand that to Kevin first.
Yeah, I had that question when we were on the retreat, and I always find it hard to truly pinpoint the one point, because the retreat is, every part of it is a puzzle. So it's like, which bit do you pick? So yeah, I always find that hard. But I have to say that it's still hard. I'm still not 100% sure. The story that I pull out is the one where we went to this beautiful temple, and we all felt that there was some sort of stagnant energy on the surface, but we also felt that there was some sort of beautiful energy below. And I stood there and just felt this serpent energy. I can only say like a serpent goddess maybe, and she was like tapping on me, and I was like, okay, do I let her in? So I let her in, and then what I did next was, I remember it, but you know, when you're remembering it from a third party person, you're watching yourself do it. And we went through a process where I walked between the stones, that there was enough of them to be that each chakra, you know, so from the root to the crown, and I literally walked my way between them, and I was hissing like a snake. And then when I got to went to the crown, I came back down to the root, and then I just felt that there was this need to pull this beautiful energy up from what used to be a stream, to clear the energy of just everyone visiting the place and it being derelict and all the rest of it. So I literally ran like pulling all of this energy up like my arms out. And as I got halfway, I sort of felt like I had huge wings. But as I got halfway out, I just ran out of energy. And I'd given my Tibetan chimes to Alessandra's sister, and she pinged them. And that ping was so like, it just gave me a boost. And I ended up running all the way up to the crown chakra and then releasing this beautiful energy. And I felt as I went, I grew this huge pair of white wings. They were dragon and feathery, I'm not really sure. And then I just like released it, and it felt like the energy came up, and that was really powerful. And it took me quite a while to get back into me after the energy, because it was so strong. So I'd say that one moment for me was powerful, but the whole thing was extremely powerful. You know, visiting all of those sacred sites, and obviously walking down into St. Peter's and towards the Pope's citadel. That was extremely powerful as well.
I have to say, when I read that was what stood out to me the most. What you just shared there. So, yeah, I'm not surprised that that's what you mentioned. Alessandra, from your perspective, as the retreat organizer and host.
I just have a lot of responses to what Kevin was saying, because I got the behind the scenes info. So the site that Kevin is mentioning is called Ostia Antica, and it's a site that is 1 hour north of Rome. It's an ancient Roman port city. It's similar to Pompeii. So if everybody has an idea that you can walk for a mile or quite a bit, and it's a city frozen in time. So it's funny because that site, Ostia Antica, and it has, I call it a campus of temples. To the ancient Romans, they took it over and they turned it into a merchant ground where they would buy and sell things. But really, what I can tell, because there's clues, and I do have an archaeologist friend, so I can touch base with him as to my theories, because he's alternate hidden history also. That whole place that the ancient Romans called a merchant site is a sacred temple site. And so I'm so happy with so many things, but Kevin and us being there, that was the mothership of everything. That's where I met very powerfully this dragon, the white mother dragon, because I was at that temple site a year before. I keep going back to it. Even as a kid, I would keep going to that place. But I went to this months before the retreat was organized, and I wanted to clear the space a bit. And I want to use the word, I was flabbergasted. I was flabbergasted to see this huge white head of this dragon here, white mother dragon, that she came from the ocean and she was so happy. And I wasn't quite used to that, because I had been seeing dragons under churches, dragons under the Vatican, that were wanting to interact with me or me with them, with this freeing, or now it's time to be reawakened. So to see her there, so then she was the mother calling us the priestesses. So for me, that too was extremely special. And so what was so exciting was I walked ahead of everybody and I was clapping methodically, trying to be as less weird as I could while being extremely physical with what I was doing. And so I had the feeling, and my guides told me before this retreat happened, that the extremely powerful and very mission-oriented humans were coming along, and that we were all equal, but we were all playing different roles. And we talked about that. So we prepared ourselves to then be guided to do as we wanted to do. And so I did that, and it was Kevin that then was so focused, and then I was to the side looking and observing him being so darn weird in front of everyone. And it was wonderful, because at first you saw him go like this, and I thought, oh boy, we've got a little boy in the mix and people are going to think he's nuts. And there was lots of people at that site, more than usual, but it was a phenomenal mix of just a child doing spontaneously, but I know Kevin, right? So this is an extremely dialed in human that really understands things at very high level and that can communicate it so well. So I was observing things on all levels. And he was like, no, powerfully doing it. Then I saw him sort of not exactly hiccup, but not really. And then my sister making the sound, and I was like, hallelujah, it's all together like a chorus. And then after that, thanks to Kevin and all of us together, we were able to do a huge channeling where I was channeling in the white dragon mother head. And it was phenomenal because Kevin had done so much, and I can't put it into words. Kevin's mentioning chakras of the temple, the snake going like this. We were on the side of that, and I was channeling for us. We were trying to be sort of acting normal, and then people, throngs of guided tour guide groups were walking along the path that Kevin and I had just cleared, but Kevin had done it so powerfully, and they were walking along the spinal in this procession. So they were, I guess, sort of part of it in this dance way, synchronized way. So that just made me so happy, because it's almost like saying at every site we did what we were meant to do. It felt like it. So every site feels like it's its own story then within a series, if that makes sense, and then it all goes together. So that just made me feel, I don't know, it's almost like saying I had no expectations or I had ideas, and so it's almost like saying better than expected. The end.
Brilliant. That's a great image as well of Kevin's child running up, almost like you should have had a coat on with it kind of like flapping behind you, which I guess you did. Those were your wings. Just to go back to the Vatican, so the Vatican is a city. It's, I used to think, you think Vatican, you think the building, which I presume is the Citadel building that you mentioned before, but it's big, the Vatican. So where did you go in that? Do you get to go into any of the like official buildings? And I'm quite intrigued, how was the energy? Because I imagine it must be a bit of a mix, really, in many ways. Like, yeah, I don't want to put my preconceived ideas on there, but how was it? And I keep seeing that giant obelisk as well that doesn't feel quite right there.
There's different ways that a human can access the Vatican. First of all, I think there's basically two, if I'm that are open to the public. There's the Vatican museums that are the super famous, where you go there, you see lots of things, including the Sistine Chapel. So you go into the Vatican museums. Usually there's hours and hours of waiting. And when you're in, you're with throngs of people. You're shoulder to shoulder and you're shuffled in like rats, it feels like. You see the Sistine Chapel. You're not allowed to take photos. Everybody usually sneaks their cell phone like this and takes a photo anyway, right? And so that's how it is. Another way is through St. Peter's Square. So you can literally walk into St. Peter's Square. Usually there's guards, I carabinieri, which are, the police is broken down into 3 or 4 different things. And the carabinieri usually have a machine gun with them, and they're there, and you have to get x-rayed. Stuff is x-rayed, but for some reason we didn't have to do that, and there was a whole road was open. Usually there's cars, but that was open because there was a special holiday, so we literally processioned into the Vatican with open doors. But now I'll let Kevin share if you want.
Yeah, I was expecting it to be a bit more secure than it was. As you say, there were some guys standing around looking very officious with their submachine guns and the rest of it. And they were all right. I sort of like nodded at a few of them. They just ignored us, which was fine. But yeah, there was a procession of us, and it was beautiful because there was 2 went ahead, and sort of we could see the obelisk, and we were like, okay, that's where we're heading for. And there was huge crowd, huge, just throngs of people everywhere because it was a holiday and lots of locals, and we were like, okay, well, let's follow this centre line and head for the obelisk, and hopefully when we get there we might be able to get close to it. So we started walking down, and 2 of them went ahead and were sort of scouting ahead, and one of the ladies that had sort of slight problems with walking, so she had a couple of walking sticks, so she was walking the slowest. So the rest of us spread out around her and to protect her from people. And as we walked down, like she was like a queen processing down the middle, and as we walked, people just moved out the way, and there were a couple that were taking pictures, and we were just like, excuse me, and they were like, oh sorry, and we just walked down, and the crowd just like opened for us and as I'm doing this, I'm tingling with the thought, because it just literally, like, the sea moved apart, and we were like, oh, and we walked down, and then, as we walked, the obelisk was getting closer and closer, and the crowd moved, and we got there, and it was like, oh, we were right in front of the obelisk, and we just stood there and we took loads of pictures. It was amazing. And we all had a few of us had a feeling that we needed to do some bits and pieces, and my snake energy came back, and I snaked around the obelisk, and then one of the others did the same. Yeah, and the energy, I was surprised how easy it was to walk in. I thought we might feel something coming towards us to stop us, but we were all in the mindset of we're just walking in. We're not charging in. We're not fighting in. We're walking in, and we protected ourselves. We all had our eggs around us, and we had our protection, and we had our dragons, but they were all keeping a distance. So we just walked in unseen, really, apart from the fact that the crowd moved out of the way, so you could tell that there was energy there, and we were like a spearhead as we walked down. It was beautiful, and just standing there with the crowd around you and everyone milling around, and we all got something different. There was lots of pictures of lots of saints around, and one of the things I was standing, I was like, after I'd done my snake bit, I was like, I need to see who they are, and I imagined that they all went into space, disappeared, and replaced every single one of them by a dragon of a certain element or of a certain color, and I was like, oh, the Vatican's being taken over by the dragons. And then we all got to see a lot of different things, and there was dragon eggs there, and a bunch of us took some. I took 42. Quite what I'm doing with them hasn't come through yet. At the moment, they're being held safely. So yeah, that one I'm 100% sure of. Did we get to go into any of the touristy bits? No, we didn't. Did we feel like we needed to? No, we didn't. I don't think so. It would be a separate day, I think, to do that.
We sat and huddled all together by the obelisk, and it was such a huge accomplishment to physically be there and to just, like, you could almost touch it. There's a little railing around it that we sat on, and we just stayed there for a bit. Kevin and a few other people did the perimeter of the obelisk for us, and the minute that happened, we all felt comfortable. We literally felt comfortable. So then I channeled, even though I say I channeled and I guided us, it just feels so cooperative. And I do remember, it's almost like I don't remember all of it, but I do remember that at the end of that channeling, transmission, giving and receiving, a unicorn appeared. And when a unicorn appears for me, or when they come, because I don't ask, they come, it's a sign that mission accomplished, we're taking over. So it's funny because I hadn't heard that part that you just said, Kevin, about seeing the replacement of the saints, because there's so many big statues of the saints, and it feels odd. And I could feel that there was a shift happening, and now you're giving me a different puzzle piece, like, oh, that makes sense. And so it makes even more sense of why I was seeing the unicorn. And the unicorn was going spiraling up the obelisk, repristining the energy, and then I could see things below. And I have my mentor that I talk to, and I have a lot of healer friends. And so I asked, what do you see that we did in the Vatican? What do you see? And out of everybody, in their own language, was saying the same thing, that there was a huge opening, an opening of a seal, and all these elemental energies and goddesses, and even kinds of elemental powers, god, goddesses, minor deities, however we want to use the word, that were coming out. And the feeling that I had was the Vatican museums have massive objects of power for many religions, literally all over the world. And the one that I keep thinking of is Goddess Sekhmet. There's just a very ancient version, like one of the first ever versions of Goddess Sekhmet that can go back, that holds so much power. So she would be an example. And there was this beautiful energy. It's just because I always feel like, oh, we're here and we want to be of service to humans. But I really feel, for me, and I think this is for you, Kevin, but not for everybody that does this type of work, is that we're really of service to the other aspects of us that are the fairies, the elementals, the dragons, these other beings that I don't have names for, angels and other things. So it's a give and take. They're freeing us, we're freeing them. But there was a lot of legions of activity happening, and it feels, I don't want to think of the negative. It just feels happy and joyous. Oh, and saying that, we were giddy and happy and joking the whole time while we're doing this serious work. I mean, we were ridiculous. Trying to think if there was anything else, but go ahead, Kevin.
We were joyous. It was joyous. We actually we all looked over the camera and took a picture. And beforehand, we looked a little bit serious before we walked down St. Peter's Square, because we were like, well, what's going to happen? And then we took a picture afterwards, and we're all shining bright. And it was we were all like 5-year-olds, but we were also in fully embodied in our spirituality, which was beautiful. Oh, and I saw a Ferrari as well. So hey. I was calling that. That's one thing I noticed. Manifestation was like that while we were there. If we thought it and said it, it was we got it. Like I was talking about Ducatis. You know, being a man, I like my cars and bikes, and see a Ducati. You know? So we were calling in lots of different things, not just those earthly things. We were calling lots of spiritual things in, and they were happening. Yeah.
Was the energy tangible as you were walking up? Like I almost have an image of almost like not treading through treacle exactly, but it feels like there's so many different energies. But some places that you go, like you can feel the energy coming off the buildings or the places. And from what I gathered, the energy of the land there is particularly special. But I would imagine that there's kind of layers on top of that kind of suppresses that powerful energy. And my feeling as well that it's a very strong divine feminine energy there at the core of the land. But I don't know if that would be like felt so much in the place when you're there. And things like having huge obelisks, you know, that's such a masculine symbol that must affect the feminine energy there.
I was able to access the feminine energy that was under the Vatican from a space that we went to that was, I would say, a 20-minute walk away. We took the van that we had, but so we were at after the Vatican, we went to an archaeological park, Palatine Hill. If people know anything about Rome, Palatine Hill is the political power center of the ancient Romans. Yeah, because the Vatican. Anyways, giving too much information. So the Palatine Hill, political center of the ancient Romans. They took it over, but there were several really dilapidated temples there, which I was called to go. I didn't know from the research that I didn't know. It was a vision that showed me that there were Sibyl temples, and the Sibyl of Cumae, wasn't there the Sibyl of Cumae's temple there? There are several temples of Sibyls there. They're extremely dilapidated. I'm standing in front of it, and that's where I got a flash download that whole area, again, including the Vatican, especially there, they were sister places, the Palatine Hill and the Vatican. And yes, there's actually soil, sedimentation or soil above a lot of ruins. So you literally have physical land over ruins, and then you go deeper and it goes earlier to the earlier humans using it. Anyways, I was on Palatine Hill looking at an extremely sad, dilapidated looking temple, but at least it wasn't being used, if that makes sense in any way. And there I got a flash of these extremely, again, I want to say politically powerful, women-oriented oracles, and that the water was always waterways, underground lakes, all sorts of streams. It just looked and felt very different. It was more outdoors. It was very fluid, if that makes sense. And it just feels old, ancient, and simple, if that makes sense, like primordial times. Like we don't have any reference for that unless you read a good book or see some movie that might say it, but there really isn't. So that's where I was able to access what the Vatican was before the Vatican. And I don't know if I'm explaining myself, so I'll stop.
You look like you're about to say something, Kevin. Thanks for that, Alessandra.
I was just going to say she explained it very well. For me, we were looking for some feminine energy that was ancient, that had possibly been suppressed. So we were all wandering around a little bit lost, not quite sure where we needed to go. And we all went off in our sort of separate different ways. And then we found the temple, and then we found this big long tree trunk that had fallen over, and we were like, oh, it's the year of the wood dragon, and we called this tree the wood dragon. So we, like 5-year-olds, we jumped on board and were riding the dragon. And then one by one, the other members of our party that had wandered off on their own came in towards us, and in the end we were all sitting around this wood dragon. And in the previous few days, I'd found this handle, literally a wooden handle that fits on a door, and it's sitting on my shamanic temple. So I used it to open some imaginary door in the ether, and then in the wood dragon, and then Alessandra was sitting right on the front of the dragon, riding the dragon, and then there was 3 of us riding the dragon, and we felt like we sort of pulled in all this beautiful energy. So we had a lot of very serious stuff while we were also being extremely childless, and the whole retreat was like that. And I think that's where that feminine energy comes in, because it is more playful and less like solid, and that the energy of Rome itself is quite masculine. You've got the Colosseum and all the murders that used to go on there, and then you got the obelisk, so yeah, you could see that it had been suppressed, but it was still there surrounding the masculine energy. And that's the feeling I got, was that actually the masculine energy is getting smaller and smaller, and it's crumbling, and the feminine is coming in to take over.
Yeah, I love what you said there about the playful energy, because it just feels really important, and that things don't have to be too serious. Even when you're doing serious work, you can still do it lightly and with joy and with humor. So the places that you visited, was there any that seemed to have kept their original kind of purity, or did they all feel like they were a bit suppressed and a bit squished?
Kevin, do you want to go first? Because I intentionally created the pathway of how we were navigating through the sites for specific reasons. So I don't want to give it away until you answer Denise's question.
We went to some beautiful gardens whose name I cannot remember. It's like
Ninfa,
Ninfa.
the lush, yeah, Ninfa.
We went to Ninfa, and the energy there, because it was in nature and there was flowing streams, and all the trees were in fruit, and then there was lots of blossom, and we wandered around, and the person was speaking Italian, because we didn't get the English one, but it was fine, because we tapped into the energy. There the energy was strong still, and it was more a feminine nature energy, which was beautiful. But then we went for this amazing drive up this snaking track high up into the top of the mountains, and there was all these people jumping off and doing skydiving and all the rest of it. And up there the energy was pure, and we looked down across everything, and it was like, well, I'm up here high, what's going on down below really doesn't matter. And we laid on the grass and had a few ceremonies, and the energy there felt very powerful and very strong and still intact. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was when I was putting together. I get downloads in different ways. I got the names of the sites we were going to, especially because they're all very alive within me. So I have to bring people to these sites. I must, but I didn't know which order. So the order just came in very clearly, and there was no denying that that was the order things were meant to be in. And so after the day that we went to the Vatican, the day after we went to the Garden of the Nymphs. And it's funny because the name is Garden of the Nymphs. And I ask and ask, and nobody knows why. And I'm thinking, yeah, but it's Garden of the Nymphs. And it's along a very famous ancient Roman road that actually leads all the way down to Naples, from Rome to Naples and beyond. It's called La Via Appia. La Via Appia in Rome has marble statues of a lot of the leaders of Rome. A lot of people don't know that. So I found it fascinating that La Via Appia in Rome is right by Nymph Egeria. Nymph Egeria is one of the very, very famous nymphs of ancient Rome. Her Nymphaeum, which is the waterworks and temple, regeneration temple, was there by the Via Appia. Nymph Egeria supposedly was married to the second leader of Rome, Nomus Pompilio. Long story. I think they try to hide him because his wife channeled information for him. I know this stuff intuitively, but I found a few bits and pieces, and a French Etruscanologist that actually then said the same things that I found out. So you have in Rome, La Via Appia, Egeria, the Nymphaeum, and the Via Appia goes all the way down. You drive if it's from Rome, it would be 2 hours south of Rome. You go all the way down, and then there's this Giardino Ninfa. So I'm connecting the dots, and we have the tour guide that doesn't know any of these things, and I'm thinking, well, thank goodness I do. And that was the day then, that was our last day, and I'm there channeling some nymph energy, water nymphs. And it was very sexy energy. It was all fluid, and I was like, oh, this feels nice. I was like getting high from that too. Because I saw them as, when we were there too, I could see them better than I've ever seen them, with this very sheets of straight hair that then looks like waterfalls. And then you can tell they're sort of naked, but are they humanoid or not? Or do they have elf ears or super big eyes, And then their dresses, if they have any billowy dresses too, looks like cascades of water. And they wanted to play and touch us. And it was just, wow. So that garden that we went to, called Giardino di Ninfa, Garden of the Nymphs, is actually simply, to normal people, just a medieval town with ruins and lots of waterworks. But with all the water, which some of it I think was natural, then some of it was man-made, like Go Here water and little waterfalls, was all extremely regenerating. That's it.
Yeah, wow, what a contrast between the Vatican and there. What you were sharing then about the water beings, the nymph beings, reminds me of a time that I was at Chalice Gardens in Glastonbury, and I was sitting by the well, and this water being kind of came out of the water, and I had quite a lot of pain in my body at the time. And she was working with me with the pain in my body, and what she was doing was blowing into the areas of pain. She was made of water, like her hair was all made of water, her dress was made of water, like she was water, but she looked like a being. And when she blew, it was water. So it was like the water that cleansed my body. And a few years after that, I stayed in the Chalice Well, in the accommodation there. And there was this painting on the wall outside the room that I was staying in. And it was this woman made out of water with her arms up like that. So she made like a chalice out of her body. And it was exactly that being that I'd seen. Like I nearly fell over when I saw it. Yeah, wow. Oh, we could digress on water, but I'll I'll keep it to the point. So what else would you want to share about how many of you was there going round?
Well, we always had two that we were missing that were energetically there. Like we were always waiting for another two to come, and we all felt that there was another two. Um, but there were 6 participants, and then me and my sister Susie. And my sister Susie is a phenomenal dragon sparkly being herself. So I call her she was our van driver, because we had this rental van that we love so much. And then so I call her the driver, but I also call her the day camp leader, because she's like, okay, everybody, let's take a break and eat some ginger candies. And she would surprise us each day with different snacks to bring us up. Yeah.
I was going to go somewhere else then. Kevin, is there anything that it'll come back to me in a minute? I didn't write it down, but is there anything else? Oh, I know what it was. It was about the 2 beings that you mentioned in your write-up, but I don't, if there's something you want to share first.
Yeah, I mean the two beings. We all felt the 2 beings, and there was one moment when Alessandra was sharing her wisdom with us and channeling everything, and I was sitting there thinking, what's that beside her, and I could see that the shimmering outline of these 8-9 foot beings, one male, one female, with I couldn't really see their features, but they were ethereal beings, and they were tall and thin, and I couldn't tell really what color they were, but they were emanating pride and thanks that she was sharing. And there was a female one and a male one, and they had their long fingered hands on either of her shoulders, just like, yes, someone at last is sharing. And that was beautiful. And yeah, and everywhere we went, we were like, is everyone here? And we were like, yeah. Yeah, everyone physical is here. Where are the 2 beings? And it felt like they sort of sat in the back in the boot almost and came to us. It was really strange. It really was. I was expecting us to pack 2 extra packed lunches for them, which the packed lunches were amazing, and all the sweets that came through, and all the prizes. That was amazing. Yeah. My inner child was very happy. My galactic being was very happy.
He's talking about there was different surprise gifts that I got everybody, and one of them, does it look just white because it's ceramic, but it's pearlescent? But so we got dragon eggs. We each got a dragon egg. They weren't all white, they were different colors. And I thought, how fantastic to have a shamanic physical item that now we can have on our altar. But if we wanted, we could have left it somewhere as a gift, although this is ceramic. But yeah, I'm having fun because I like, shamanic, the physical interaction with having things, because it's been forever that I've been having visions of white rainbow dragon eggs, but then to have something and then to have it as souvenirs of all because we were living so much in our energetic space, even though we're physically doing things. So I think the more presence, the merrier.
And we grounded ourselves with amazing pizzas, the size of your plate plus. Amazing.
Oh, Kevin, before I forget, so I just went on a hiking excursion this Sunday. It was very waterfalls water. And my favorite archaeologist that I mentioned to us in the retreat, Riccardo Bellucci, he was mentioning giants. He's dialed into giants. And I think that in many places all over the earth, there's always legends of giants. But he was saying something about Etruscans or the ancestors of Etruscans being giants, and he was making some connections, but even for him and for archaeology, it was still wispy. But I got a zing as you were talking now, because when you saw the 2 tall beings, we were in Ostia Antica again, with the temple place, and I was there honoring one of the biggest points I'm doing is I'm honoring water, I'm honoring the nymphs because we have Nympheo, and I'm honoring Etruscans because Etruscans is almost like saying the most recent civilization that I'm know was there with intention, and who knows who their ancestors were. Maybe there's some Atlantis in there also. And my archaeologist, Riccardo Bellucci, is agreeing with these theories, adding to them. So there's something about Atlantis energy. He was saying that Atlantis people, although there's different versions of Atlantis, he sees them as tall beings. So he sees as the earliest Etruscans or their ancestors as being big beings. Also, he's saying that Etruscans could have gone back thousands of years, such as up till 6000 BC, which is something that I'm feeling also. But I feel that with a lot of civilizations, they probably did go a lot back, farther back. So I just wanted to say that I'm just getting more clues, but there's just so much to what you were seeing and that I was feeling and the other people were feeling with those beings. It just honoring, I just go back and say, okay, we're talking about ancient humans, because I don't know who or what. It's just honoring this ancient puzzle piece to who we are, going back to identity, the ancient human in these sites. And then there's so many sites all over the earth. And the site that you had mentioned, Kevin, where we're all feeling high at the end, after the Garden of the Nymphs, we went up the winding road. That site had these polygonal walls, similar to Peru. Of course, Peru are they're top notch. They are super precisely built. I think that the ones that I took us to, I think the Romans tried to mess with them a bit, but still, technically speaking, they are polygonal walls, which who knew that we had those in Italy? But that goes back to extremely ancient civilizations. And archaeologists do agree, okay, that's very old. We don't know what to do with it. But just saying, this is so exciting, touching this massive puzzle pieces to the ancient human, so that we can find more parts of ourselves to have a better life while we're here on Earth, and just to have a lot of good things. I mean, I hope we can get to experience everything we ever wanted to. We get to have it here on Earth now, and I don't know what it looks and feels like, but it could be better than we imagine. The end.
Thank you. Yeah, so just to go back to those two giant beings again. So Kevin, you said very long. I got the image of like long, kind of spindly fingers. And I wondered if that felt galactic, but the more that you're talking about it, it feels Earth-like. And what came to mind, well, many things, and you're right, like tales of giants, so many places around the world where the giants have been hidden a little bit, bones have been found, etc. Also, the she came to mind as well. The I don't know if I can say this without butchering it, but the Tuatha that some people believe when Atlantis fell, they were beings from Atlantis, but seen as being very, very tall and perhaps elven-like. I'm not sure about that, or whether it's kind of two different sets of beings. Alessandra, you have stuff to share on that.
I'm beginning to wonder, but that we have all these different names, but really we're all saying the same thing, because I see that with the goddess. You have Kuan Yin, goddess Isis, Sekhmet, Bastet, the Oshun of Africa. That's a whole big lump of lots of big deity energy. But I think that we're really talking about massive energy in a creator form. And so that was just one side example. Okay. So I think there's recurring themes: big beings, Atlantis energy, Tuatha De Danann, big fairies. Because when I talk about fairies, I'm not always really just thinking about these fairies. I've forever have had a huge fairy guide with me that I've been aware of since 2006. So I think we're saying similar things. And then other people talk about the Lemurian humans and us. So we're basically talking, I think it basically is a long time ago, and what people say Atlantis, basically being human was extremely different as to what it is now. We could have been bigger, we could have been more water-like, we could have been more fairy, mermaid, godlike. I believe then that's our ancestry, right? And then maybe it got smaller, smaller, and more condensed. But I do, that all hits some chords and they feel right to me. I don't like breaking things down and separating them or categorizing them. It just feels that there's this, if we want to call it ancestry or us back then, it just feels beautiful, magical, extremely mystical, very, very wise. Somehow there is a mix of very galactic, but also extremely in the earth, with these massive fairy dryad being walking out of a tree that is the energy of the tree. So to me, it all feels yes. Also, another feeling that I had, I don't know if Freddie Silva is talking about this stuff too, about giant beings walking out of the standing stones, of the people who fought, who are the Tuatha De Danann that were with the standing stones. And then he was making connections with Sardinia, Orkney Islands, but it wasn't just Sardinia, because there's a lot of the stuff that he's finding is actually in different parts of central Italy too. So yeah, I think massive, for me, these are clues, and then we see what it means for us. But as long as it keeps us very excited, then I think we're good. We're on a good track.
Kevin, anything you want to add to that bit? Thank you, Alessandra.
We finished with a beautiful dance in the Diana Temple, which was lovely. We missed it on the first day because it was raining, and then we were on the last day on the way back on our highs from the whole thing. We went to the temple and yeah, had a beautiful dance. So that was lovely as well.
Tell us more about the Diana Temple.
It's not a lot there that you can see at the moment, but they're uncovering it bit by bit. I think it's meant to be many times bigger than what we saw. What's there isn't a lot, but when you go there, the energy is palatable, and someone's put a little altar, a little shrine together. Someone's drawn a picture of Diana, and the energy is just beautiful. I left a crystal there. It just felt like I'm still connected, and the energy there was joyous, but also warrior-like. So we for some reason we decided to do these warrior poses. I'm like, oh, we're really strong. Yeah, it was a lovely rounding off to the whole thing.
So the Diana Temple, it's funny, I have some images, artist reconstructions of what the temple looks like. So it's actually another campus space. There was little apartments for the priests and priestesses to live there all the time. Then, okay, so the artist reconstruction just does the one plane, but they must not have been there, because if you climb up, which I did several times, there's another tier in, you can call it the mountain cliff. We're in a crater, so it's a cliff-like space. So you go up one tier and there's more apartments to live in. And then you go up to a third tier and there's Roman baths type things, because there was the nymph Egeria, her stream went there from Rome. So, and we are about 45-minute drive down from, south from Rome. So it was a big multi-tiered space. It is now really severely covered by bushes and everything. What makes it exciting, not exciting, is that it's half in the middle of nowhere, half in the woods, where it's basically inaccessible, completely inaccessible. The other half is on Gino's olive grove. And Gino is a very grumpy old man. Sorry, I'm just gonna say it. And so he used to give access to it because the Archaeological Association says there should be access to it, but he every now and then doesn't want people to. So when me and others go to put offerings on the altar, I always feel a little bit guilty. But when we were there with the retreat, Gino rents out his space for people to have big disco parties with 90s dance music. So we had dance music when we got to the temple and we were happy. And then we were doing the warrior poses. Also, the lake water it's shrinking, because otherwise some people theorize that the temple was literally on the lake. What do you call the edge of the lake? It's not really a beach. And another interesting fact, 2 ancient Roman ships were found at the bottom of this little tiny lake, and they are massive ceremonial ships of goddess Isis and Diana. So you basically had a temple on a ship, you had a temple on a ship going to the temple, just to make it overboard.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds the perfect. It sounds good that you had rain and couldn't get there in the beginning. It sounded like a really amazing way to end it. So you've talked about some of the other beings that were with you. I'd love to hear more, and you've spoken about the white dragon that's behind you. I'd love to hear more about any dragon presences that you felt, aside from or including the eggs. But you've mentioned the eggs already, but I just have a feeling there might be more dragon stuff to share.
I can say that at the temple, after I did my bit, there was a huge white dragon in the clouds, and it was holding space. Alessandra, as she was talking, and she had a little bit of anxiety where all these tourists were wandering past, and we were all sitting there on the floor or standing there. It came in and it held like a bubble of space around us, and gave her the courage and energy, and it also, I think it was always there, but us being there, it was like, oh, there's people actually doing something. They're not just wandering around going, oh, there's an old stone, this is that. And there's some people here doing some energy work, and it looks like the picture that's behind Alessandra. It's, you know, and it was a huge big like cloud, and then as you when you look at the cloud, you see lots of things in it. I do anyway, and then it coalesced more into a proper image of the dragon. So it was there, and I felt like the dragons were there for the whole retreat, but they weren't in our faces. They were letting us do what we needed to do, but they were there holding space around us. And so, for example, when we went down into St. Paul's, they couldn't be there because they would have set off all the alarms of like, oh, the dragons, you know. So they were there holding space. And if you looked at the clouds again, there was lots of shapes in the clouds. At one point, there was an alien ship, huge big alien ship out following us, and then there was lots of grid lines from the planes flying over, and there was a lot going on around us and protecting us, but they weren't physically with us like they often are, mainly because if they did, then it would have been like, yeah, who knows what would have happened. So they left us to ourselves, but were there protecting us the whole time. And then the eggs, I'm not sure what the eggs are for. I've asked why have you got all these eggs, and it's like, well, we don't tell you everything at once, so put them somewhere safe, make sure they're good, which are done, and they're protected, and then I'm sure someone will come in at some point and go, right, you're in, now it's time to hand the eggs out, hatch the eggs, or whatever it is. And I find that with the dragons, that they'll give you, here's the next step, I'm not telling you anymore, trust us. So you get to trust that you take the next step. And that's what we were doing in many ways on the retreat.
Are those etheric eggs that you're talking about? Alessandra said that she gifted you those little ceramic eggs, but you're talking energy eggs there.
Energy dragon eggs, yeah.
And did you say you picked those up at the Vatican, or was that elsewhere? Yeah.
Yeah.
Alessandra.
Oh yeah. So it's like I don't remember, but I did channel the white dragon mother every day, and she was our guardian protector, loving us. And it's interesting how you explained it, Kevin, because that's how I experienced it too. I didn't even think about it until we're talking about it now. But in the energy of it, I was aware of legions and legions of different beings and dragons, especially, that were part of this, but they were stepping back to allow the humans to do, but also of massive support. And that we weren't just humans, we are there as shapeshifters, but we looked human. And the white dragon mother was just very, very, she's like, she gave us our homework, our assignment, go do, but also with these invisibility cloaks.
Yeah, I remember those cloaks. We were all given cloaks so that we put them on, and we also imagined ourselves encased in sort of an egg, so that when we were walking around, we weren't shining our light too brightly, so that we can go, oh, look, there's a whole bunch of light beings there about to do something. We were just, but I imagined myself as like a ninja sneaking in, but doing it in plain sight, sort of thing.
Yeah, I had my mentor was actually saying, not that you really need anybody's outside validation, but it was a good surprise. She's like, you, me and my team and us, we gifted ourselves, or the container was created that we were safe. That was the most important thing. We obviously had a big mission for ourselves, the Vatican, everything, for the world, for humanity, for the elementals. But it was so nice to hear the feedback from my mentor saying everybody was safe. It was created a safe way. It was just clean, safe, beautiful, big work, and that you get to unravel yourself as the time release gift, like Kevin, you're mentioning with the eggs. But I was just so happy to hear that, because it actually is a big, brave venture, especially if you have the beliefs that I do or that we do, thinking things has got to change. And if you start thinking of potentially of power that's there, but my thought is how powerful we are. We always are, and our wonderful allies and counterparts. And it just, for me, it's just a party that starts, and that we're building light. And it's not about so much of, I don't like you and I don't agree with what you're doing. It's more of, well, I want to play in that area too. It's everybody's access. So I'm going to bring dragon eggs. So it's that idea of, I believe in what I'm doing, maybe more like an artist, because I love what I'm doing as an artist. And it's not exactly a competition, but it is saying, well, I can be in that space too, because really that space is for everyone. I think that's the feeling. But the eggs, I had a dream about the eggs, but it felt real, that I went to another site. So it must have been one of these days, because I keep going to these archaeological excursions with my Arco di Diana is the group, and Riccardo Bellucci. And I think that I remember seeing that me and the guides, we took it's like this big leather chest backpack with all these eggs in it, and they were multicolored, and they were put in a sacred space, and they're there, and they're very happy to be there. It's almost not the idea of like having foster kittens, but it's that feeling of, it's a home away from home now, and they're in the appropriate place in a very special temple cave area. And my feeling is, oh my gosh, there's more to the adventure. And it also feels all these elemental beings, and ones again that we don't know of. Oh, and I kept seeing a unicorn, horse, but mermaid. So it had this water tail.
And I saw my first mermaid, not my first mermaid, my first unicorn. For years I've been going, I want to see a unicorn, I want to see a unicorn. Like a lot of us, I want to see a dragon. And I think you have to be in a certain frequency at a certain time. And it was after we'd done a lot of work, and we were standing in front of the Vatican, and the obelisk was there, and we were sort of done all the energy. And then I saw it as like a rainbow one going up. I was like, oh, I see one at last. It's just beautiful.
Nice. You haven't mentioned Medusa, but I am drawn to bring her into the conversation relating to this.
It's interesting, because I was going to wear a Medusa pendant right now for this. So she is wanting to speak. I have done all different kinds of preparatory work in the last 3 years since moving to Italy. So I moved to Italy after 20 years of not being in Italy, but I grew up in Italy until I was 18 years old. Medusa, I don't remember when Medusa came to me. It might have been close to the year 2017, right when dragons came to me more strongly. And I know my version of Medusa is what I call Galactic Medusa, because if she is just Medusa, then we just know her in the mythology story, which is extremely distorted. It talks about her being raped and then beheaded. And that's a distortion to suppress a massive energy. Medusa was part of the retreat. I forgot, Kevin, because we went to a sacred site, which is a necropolis, but it's more. So it's the one of the headquarters of the ancient Etruscans at Tarquinia. Tarquinia has the Etruscan tombs, and you can go down into the tombs. And I forgot that we did a whole ritual there. One of the only tomb, it takes a lot of space, but for some reason, and that's another hidden thing, we were only allowed to go in and see a little tiny part of it. But so we went into this procession quietly into the tomb, into this. It's anticlimactic because it was a small space, but it has this ancient Etruscan painting inside, ancient Etruscan tombs, and they have the Gorgon Medusa up there, and it has her grotesque version, so you can really tell she's not human at all. And what's phenomenal about that is this is, to me, that's one of the physical painting links her to above and beyond the beheaded story. It has nothing to do with the beheaded story. In fact, that image of that Gorgon Medusa, I don't know if I can call archaeologist or anthropologist, Maria Gimbutas, links that image of the Gorgon Medusa to thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago to the snake primordial divine mother, and to that because she's like that, so similar or linked with Kali and the snakes. So there was a huge Medusa presence, but it links still to the Vatican, because one of the times that I did a preparation, and this might have been 2 years ago, I was linked with two really powerful healer friends. They were in America and I was physically there, and we did a huge sort of a regathering Medusa. And physically speaking, there must be a few marble Medusa heads in the Vatican museums under there. But Medusa is also known to be a black oracle, or coming from Libya. Actually, there's more people actually finding that out, and again connects to Medusa is an example of the original oracular power that was at the Vatican before the Vatican. And also a lot of signs of Medusa is she's not just, the snakes actually could have been dreadlocks, but that she was a water goddess really connected to Mami Wata, and Mami Wata is the ocean, or the ocean mother goddess of everything in some parts of Africa or Northern Africa. I might get not all the facts, but that is a huge energy there. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I was just going to say I'd forgotten about that temple, but I'm not sure why I forgot about it, because it had a profound impact on me. Because beforehand we were all extremely jolly and messing around and we walked in procession into the tomb, and there was a button you had to press to light it up, and I went and did my turn and pressed the button and watched, and was like, okay, I need to stay. So I stood and became the button presser for everyone else. And as I stood there pressing the button and kept watching and watched it as everyone else came in and watched, my energies sort of like came out of my head, and it just sunk. And it took me quite a while to sort of get back my energy. I still can't describe it other than it grounded me. And then we had some time afterwards, and somebody went off and explored, and I was like, I think it's Alessandra said, I'm going to lay in the grass and look at the clouds. I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. It just like zonked there, just in that really grounded energy that I always want to, when if you go to a funeral, you just get that feeling, but it wasn't sad. It was just really grounded and strong. I've never felt that energy before, and it really quietened me for quite a while, and it took me a while to sort of get back into the real sort of joyousness in the childlike. Just yeah, it was very interesting. I would definitely recommend visiting it and having that feeling.
When I observed you, because I could see, I observed what you're explaining on you, and what I saw with that was I just saw you as the male priestess energy. Because I don't want to use the word priest. Priest I associate with the Catholic Church priest, but so I saw you as the male priestess energy, and it was just, I don't know. To me, it was a sacred power within you, a male, the male priest power. So the sacredness, you are sacred and you are honoring the sacred. But I think what I also observed, and I felt it for me too, was it was Medusa, or the goddess creator energy, said, "Thou shalt have respect for self and all." And we embodied it. And it was phenomenal to experience that. I mean, that for me too might have been one of the most visceral experiences of a divine energy creating more divine. Yeah.
Wow. So was there anything else that I haven't asked you about that you feel wishes to be shared into the space?
I'd say that Nemi, where we went to, is a beautiful place. The energy, it's an old volcano that's erupted, and then there's a big hole where the volcano was, full of water, steep mountain climbs, and it's way up above everything else. So the energy is beautiful. That was a beautiful place to be based. We were based in a beautiful place, so every time we went out on our little missions, we came back to somewhere safe, which was a beautiful way of doing it. And we sort of spiraled out from there, north, south, east, and west, really.
Yep.
I feel like everything feels complete. The retreat felt complete. We had missions within missions. I knew that everybody coming, I knew that we would be gifts to each other. There's this cycling of giving and receiving. And yeah, I don't, I just feel that everything was so smooth, and from a creator perspective, wearing multiple hats to make things happen. And in Italy, where a lot of things can go up or down, it just felt like I don't know how to say it. Maybe it was part of the retreat energy of um, being more powerful within ourselves that really just came out, and just feeling that we're part of something big, and that maybe it's that feminine energy where we're really, really connected with all. And again, this concept of worlds within worlds. I describe Nemi as the Harry Potter, because Harry Potter, I was going to say the Harry Potter worlds, because you have Harry Potter and then diagonally, which is diagonally going through, right? Regular London and then the Harry Potter version. So to me, Nemi is the Harry Potter version. It's a medieval town, but it's beyond medieval. So I just feel extremely grateful to you, Kevin, to you, Denise, and to everybody that came. It just feels like a beautiful beginning, really. It feels nice to viscerally be in touch with the living sacred sites and the beings coming through them. So I just feel really grateful that magic is more alive, and the fulfillment of seeing us and others enjoying these other realities. It just was really good.
Beautiful. Thank you. I know it'll be interesting when you not redo it, because it'll be different every time, but when you go back again within a different group, it'll be really interesting how it will feel, like the energy of the places, but it is going to be different. You know, you've got different people. Go on.
Yes. So I've been hearing a lot from myself. So I don't know which is me and which is the guides, but there's just a flurry because I already am getting the downloads for the next one. It is going to be in November, the very beginning of November, the last few days of October. I'm still feeling, I mean, I'm getting, but the feeling is, so this retreat is the white dragon, and the white mother dragon is here. But what's also coming in is the rainbow dragons. And when I did a call, it was a free event and it was about the rainbow dragons, but so many people were talking about the white dragon, but they see it as rainbowy and pearlescent. So the next download is it's Water Priestess and the Rainbow Warriors. So because it's like a lot of us are Water Priestess oriented, but some of us are totally mission oriented. So I think we're gonna be receiving more missions of what do you want to do? Well, let's do this here. So it's not an upgrading. There's something else adding to it. So there's this layer of rainbow warrior energy set in the word rainbow dragon. But that's all I'm getting for now. So
Awesome, thank you. And Kevin, I think you should share about the Dragon Summit.
Yes, the Galactic Dragon Thunder Summit 2024 is on the 21st July. We have 24 live speakers, which is amazing, over a period of 26 hours. We've got hosts where we're going to start with 8 speakers in Australian time zone, then the UK time zone, then America's time zone. And we've also, now we're up to 45 speakers in total. So the rest of them are going to be recordings, and Denise has already done hers, and it was amazing to sit through. So you're all in for a super treat, that's for sure. So yeah, that's all available, and I'm sure Denise will share the links, and you can come along and watch us live, or just, if you've not got the time to be live, you can watch all the replays, and you also get access to 2023's all of those beautiful speakers as well.
And
yeah,
just share your website as well. Just share that verbally as well before, and I will add that to the
yeah, my website is very simple. It's englishmystic.com, and then on the top header it will say Dragon Thunder, so you need to click on that link and it'll take you through, and you can see all of the 2023 stuff and the 2024. And there's also an area called Dragon Talks, where we each month have 2 or 3 speakers and they come and talk about dragons, which is beautiful as well. And you can get access to all of those replays, so you can go dragon crazy.
Yeah, the summit was incredible last year, and it just feels, even at this stage, it feels even more potent this year. And Alessandra, you're going to be one of the speakers as well, aren't you?
She is indeed. I mean, I think the dragons let us do a nice, very small one just to wake it up, and then they were like, "Oh, well, actually, it's going to be the year of the dragon, isn't it? The wood dragon. So let's make it a bigger one that year."
it was Diana Cooper at the first Dragon Summit retreat. Wow. And there's a whole bunch of other, I have been listening to it's Dragon Thunder Summit, pieces and pieces and pieces, and I got so much information. It was extremely helpful. There's nothing of this kind. It's really good.
Apart from the retreat, Alessandra, have you anything coming up? And where can people get hold of you?
Okay, my website, alessandragilioli.com. My name, I'm going to spell it out. What do I have coming up? Actually, I'm doing mentoring, but Galactic Goddess mentoring, but I haven't written up the package, haven't written up the information yet. So just email me. I don't know what else I'm doing. I'm I'm actually finishing up the Dragon Oracle cards that I'm making, but yeah. I'll just post things in my newsletter.
And we've been talking about doing a collaboration as well for a while, I'm sure. At some point, that will happen, an online collaboration. And I've been doing dragon immersions kind of monthly, maybe sometimes every 5 or 6 weeks, but dragon immersions. And this one, this dragon heart one, I'm really excited for. So this is connecting to the dragon heart energy. And it's only really quite recently that I've been doing this. And to me, the dragon heart energy, it's courage, it's unconditional love, it's loyalty, valor, like just that real strong standing in your power kind of heart energy. And anytime I've been feeling like since I've started connecting with this, that I'm just in need of any of those qualities or just wanting to reinforce those qualities, just boost them inside myself, connecting with the dragon heart energy. And it's been really, really powerful to do. And another part of the call that's coming up on Thursday, so connecting our hearts to that dragon heart energy, so connecting our whole energy bodies, our physical body to that energy, but also directing it to places of power on the planet. So things like, religious institutions, the World Health Organization, all the governmental institutions and bodies and buildings and all those kinds of places as well. And just directing the energy there, not with any attachment to any outcome or not trying to work with the energies particularly, but just holding, just kind of being present for the energy to direct it there. So the energy does its own thing there. So yeah, I'll pop some information about that as well. That's this Thursday at 6:30. So I'm really looking forward to that. Anything that you haven't said that you wish you had before we bring this to a close?
If you go to Italy, go to Florence as well. I did. And I went to saw the Davids, which is a long story I'll share another time, but it was beautiful to go there. And then I at the end I shared a video, and Alessandra used to go there with her cousins when she was younger. So that was quite nice. I popped off on my own to Florence, and then I could send her a video that was reminded of her childhood. So that was lovely. And the gelato is delicious.
Thank you.
I guess my final thing is thank you to everyone, and thank you to Denise, and maybe thank you to all of us, because I just feel that the dragons are literally a missing puzzle piece to how we think the universe or the multiverse is. And I just feel like we're in for a good ride. People people might say, you're in for a ride. And that's usually like, oh, we're opening a can of worms. But no, I just feel that things can be so much easier with dragons and with flow and sparklier. My first love and my always love is fairies. Really going back to how we started with all of this, fairies, but my goodness, dragons have so much, and it's similar energy, right? Or in different words, but I think we're all in for being much happier and much lighter. And again, just like the retreat, I can't believe all that we experienced and all that we accomplished, but just how darn silly we were and how light everything can be. And, so it's like, thank you, dragons. So thank you, Denise, for all that you're doing. And I have to say, I've experienced quite a few of your things, and especially the dragon immersions. And there was just something, you made it, like Kevin said, dragons are real. You made some of my own dragons and other dragons so real for me. And there's so much more to say, but I just want to say thank you for your talents.
Thank you. I just want to quickly add, because I did kind of I was given a message from the dragons about this dragon heart energy, and I just feel to mention this bit. So we are currently bathing Gaia inside and out with our collective dragon heart energy. This field of energy is mighty. It is pure. It is courage, strength, valor, expansion, vitality, self-worth, self-value, unwavering, absolute, steadfast, unadulterated, incorruptible, fierce, and loyal. And I feel as well, because I saw the beautiful from, you know, all the solar energy that's coming in, the aurora energy. And what I saw of it, it was very pink, very green, very heart colors. And I felt like I was kind of getting confirmation for this message that I'd brought through. Yeah. I think I'll leave that there. So I invite us all just to bring our awareness back to our hearts, back to our heart space. And let us together just place, if you can, if you're in a position to do so, one or both hands on your heart and say to your beautiful hearts, I love you. I love you. I love you. I'm giving thanks to Gaia, to the sun, to the cosmic heart, and all the dragon and water priestess energies and all of the beings of light who've been together with us on this call. Thank you to everybody. Thank you, Alessandra. Thank you, Kevin. And thank you to everyone who's been with us on the call, either live or on the replay. Thank you. And we will see you soon. I will stop the live stream.